Deployment of EV charging stations in the U.S. is progressing, with NEVI program playing a really crucial role in this initiative. State facilitation of charging infrastructure complements and enhances federal programs, and in such, this should be pursued to maximize the many benefits of a decarbonized transportation sector. Secondly, we support HB 5248, an act concerning energy efficiency and transmission planning. We support the intent of sections 1 through 4 regarding energy efficiency standards. EE programs have helped keep energy demand load growth low, despite population and economic growth over the last several decades. The Energy Star program is among the most successful public-private partnerships in U.S. history. It has also delivered continual cost savings to consumers. Preserving energy efficiency standards should be a crucial part of Connecticut's energy planning. Considering the likelihood of the end of the Energy Star program, increased authority by DEEP to maintain or increase energy efficiency standards is beneficial to ratepayers and the regional energy grid. We also support Section 5 of this bill regarding Connecticut Siting Council authority. In Connecticut, the transmission charge is almost 13% of ratepayers' total electricity bill, in some cases 15%. And this is rapidly growing, partially due to the disproportionate amount of energy resources in Connecticut and the infrastructure needed to move this energy to other parts of the region. Increased scrutiny and ability to intervene in transmission projects, particularly asset conditioning projects, should be strongly pursued at the state level, where residents will bear the full cost and responsibility of such projects. Connecticut consumers face some of the highest electricity rates in the nation, with asset conditioning projects contributing significantly to these costs, with little to no oversight regarding reliability, needs, cost, or efficiency. And with that, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present testimony today.
Thank you, Carrie. Anybody have any questions, comments? We are all getting bleary-eyed. I apologize. Normally, we would have had a lot of questions for you. Now, Mark Sassy from Bridge Energy Services, followed by Christy Prescott from UI. Been very patiently waiting.
Thank you, honored co-chairs, Senator Needleman, Representative Steinberg, Ranking Member Senator Fazio, and Representative Mara, and the esteemed members of the Energy and Technology Committee. My name is Mark Sassy with Bridge Energy Services and Municipal Energy Group, headquartered at East Hartford, Connecticut. We've been providing energy program management services for Connecticut municipalities and institutions for decades, and I teach an energy procurement certification for a global industry association. I am here in strong support of House Bill 5245 regarding municipal aggregation. I've submitted written testimony, and to avoid repeating others' testimony, I would only like to address a couple discussion points from earlier today. First, regarding potential impact to the standard service option, there is no evidence supporting the theory that HB 5245 would adversely impact standard offer rates, none, especially provided the guardrails that presently exist in the language. To the contrary, we can look to our neighbor in Massachusetts, who has had this program for nearly 30 years and presently includes similar guardrails. The most impactful guardrail in the current bill's language is that it requires advance notice to the utilities, which allows them to adjust their go-to-market quantities and thus avoid stranded costs. According to internet sources, 70% of the population of Mass resides in a municipality with a program, and 52% of Massachusetts residents are enrolled in such a program. So from a math and an energy markets perspective, even if in Connecticut there was an 80% adoption, which is higher than Mass, the standard service pool would still remain a substantial size from the perspective of wholesale power block quantities to be able to support competitive pricing. I'll also add that standard service presently has a risk premium baked in for ratepayers coming and going, so that argument is somewhat moot as well. Secondly, and most importantly, regarding ratepayer cost and protection, aggregation uses competitive procurement and bulk purchasing with programs that are publicly designed, locally governed, and transparent. Programs can't guarantee rates below the utility at all times, but experience and data from similar programs nationwide demonstrate consistent savings and improved price stability. Independent organizations such as EPA, the Mass DPU, LEAN, UMass Amherst, and others have reported data on this performance. Moreover, looking at municipalities from our neighbor in Massachusetts, not only have they realized hundreds of millions in savings since program inception, but the standard deviation of the program rates was less than half the standard deviation of the utility alternative. So simply put, what that means is actual municipal aggregation examples have proven to have pricing to be more stable than the utility alternative. A driving factor of that is that procurements can have a longer duration, more than the 6-month utility alternative. In closing, if you were to poll people if they support auto enrolling and aggregation with no control, most people will oppose this the way the question is asked, but really that description is effectively how the current utility standard offer program functions. If you were to poll people if they support adding an additional option to choose from that has a track record to empower local control, enhance ratepayer protections, that has proven historically to lower cost and price volatility, the majority of people would support this. And I respectfully urge your support and would be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Anybody have any questions? There being none, next up is Christy Prescott, followed by Connor Yukadis. I think Samantha from the Sierra Club has said she's not going to testify tonight. So, welcome, Christy. Thank you. Do you have an opinion on Aquarion? No.
You know, I have a lot to talk about today, but I wasn't going to touch that one. So thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Christy Prescott, and I'm the Vice President of Regulatory for United Illuminating. And we appreciate the opportunity to comment on 5 bills, 5 on today's agenda. So, you know, we don't have a lot of time. Our written comments go into greater detail, but I'll briefly summarize the key points of those 5 bills. The first one is Raise Bill 243 about redesigning the electric bill. UI launched a comprehensive redesign of the residential electric bill in early 2024, and we rolled out a clearer format bill with 4 distinct components: supply, transmission, local delivery, and public benefits. We worked with PURA for several years, and after an investment of over $3 million on the bill redesign, we believe that more time is necessary for customers to become familiar with this new bill layout before embarking on a whole new bill redesign. The next is Raise Bill 5245 about municipal aggregation. While UI supports efforts to expand customer choice and supply, municipal aggregation is complex. It introduces significant operational, regulatory, and consumer protection challenges. We do believe that a successful municipal aggregation program must include incorporation of essential design safeguards, including requiring municipalities to provide the companies with at least 180 days notice before filing an aggregation, and also importantly, at least 90 days before terminating a plan. Also including a provision for 15-minute interval data is not compatible with UI's current settlement system and would necessitate significant substantial system redesign. Our written testimony also, we provide 2 examples of municipal aggregations in New York that have had significant challenges and demonstrate that even well-intentioned aggregation programs can fail unexpectedly, causing customer disruption, confusion, and potential financial harm. The next bill is Raise Bill 5248 and our comments about the transmission planning in Section 5. We support Section 5 of the bill, allowing Connecticut Siting Council to take a forward-looking approach to evaluating transmission planning, granting the council clearer authority to consider longer-term transmission needs is an important step towards ensuring Connecticut's grid remains reliable, resilient, and capable of supporting the state's evolving energy landscape. Next, Raise Bill 242, an act requiring the study of the feasibility of reducing the time to switch electric suppliers. We do caution that accelerating the supplier switching timeline carries implications that should be fully evaluated before any statutory changes are adopted. While a faster switching process may appear beneficial on its face, the underlying system and market dynamics introduce real risks that could ultimately increase cost or reduce service quality for customers. And the last bill is Raise Bill 246, an act requiring the study of natural gas rates for commercial and agricultural customers. This is mostly surrounding the demand rate that is set by PURA in a rate case and is designed to recover the cost of maintaining local pipeline capacity. Approximately 20% of our customers for CNG and SCG are on a demand rate, and that takes the demand charge, multiplies it by the maximum daily quantity, and the company actually does adjust the MDQ at least on an annual basis. and our billing systems don't have a specific identifier for agricultural accounts. So a focus of the study may be initial challenge to obtain the accurate count of agricultural customers. I appreciate your time today, and providing the opportunity to provide these comments on these bills. And we look forward to providing additional information if you would like.
Thank you, Christy. I don't think I have any questions on any of that. Do you guys? No? All that waiting. Representative Mara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the SB 246, the agricultural customers, I'm just curious, what kind of lift do you think something like that would be to be able to identify these customers? And I assume a new rate structure would have to happen, because the demand charge being yearly, I assume, is with all of your customers that are on demand charge?
They are, yes.
Okay.
We established it based on the period of November through March, and it's like on the highest demand charge for those months, and that's how the MDQ is created. The question, though, was, would it be a lift to identify the agricultural customers? In fact, I think it is, because it's a very broad definition of agricultural. Like, what exactly do we mean? I have some experience in administering the NRES program, the Non-Residential Renewable Energy Solutions program. And in that program, there's an incentive for SAM projects, the state, agricultural, and municipal, and we ran into that a bit with the SAM project as well. And in fact, the way we ended up approving the incentive for that program was requiring an affidavit of the program and requiring some of the, I think there's an annual tax bill for agricultural customers. And that's how we were able to do that and demonstrate, but it ended up being just a authorization or attestation by an agriculture customer that they have in fact met that requirement. So we could administer something like that, but for us to just find the customers, it may be more challenging.
Okay, because my understanding is that they are already defined in statute. Rep. Lanu provided a statute number that they already had a definition.
I think there is, I know there is. I think that there was just some challenges associated with applying it under the SAM program, so I'll have to just go back and double check my statement there. But in terms of identifying the customers, I think that's the challenge. We don't have any code in our system to identify an agricultural customer, so in order to do that, I think there would have to be kind of an identification of all that those 20% of the customers, and then maybe some sort of querying out and reach out to those customers to have them confirm agricultural status.
Okay, all right, thank you so much, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Just in regards to that, I think it is defined in statute for assessing purposes, which doesn't necessarily tie to them on their, from their billing point of view. And I'm going to give Representative Sanchez a moment, but I just have one comment. Do you agree with what Vincent said, that we're just moving, numbers on a table, that you have to get a certain amount of revenue, and if you give one person a benefit, somebody's going to pay more?
I apologize because I'm not sure I was in the room to hear Mr. Pace speak to that, but was he speaking about the same, the same bill?
Yeah, that it's a zero-sum game for you guys. If you give one class a benefit, everybody else has to pick up the slack.
Yes, because I think the function of the demand charge is to cover those expenses of the gas
Right.
system. And so the idea is it's similar, and causation and allocation principles are used. And so you set a formula in your rates, and if you change that formula, you've got to you still have the same base cost that you have to allocate.
Correct. You still
Yes.
need the same amount of money to run the, run
Correct.
the system regardless of how you distribute it. And, well, I don't know if I agree with that, but it's sort of moving stuff around. Yeah, those are added costs. Those are not necessarily, somebody's got to pay something. Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm just trying to get a grasp on this demand charge. So for example, a farmer goes by 100 cubic feet of natural gas. Is it my understanding that once they reach a max, let's say 100 cubic feet times X being 10, so that's 1,000 cubic feet of natural gas flowing to heat up his greenhouse, right? At what point do they start charging this demand charge? Is there a cap? Obviously, there's no cap, but it seems to me that once there's an amount of usage, it triggers this demand charge. Am I right on that understanding?
As I understand it, the demand charge is set when you establish an account with the company. They look at
I can't hear
the
you.
demand charge is set when you establish an account with the company. So they evaluate the expected usage, and they anticipate if you're going to hit one of these caps, small, medium, or large, for demand charges. And then you establish, we first estimate where your first year would be. We would estimate the amount for that maximum daily amount times the demand charge, which is in the rates, is in the tariff. And that's a fixed rate, and it's multiplied by your volumetric or your highest demand. And then after the November through March time period is used, we pick, the system automatically will take your highest maximum demand. And if it is lower than what the system had you originally at, it will automatically reduce to your next lowest. And so it will take your actuals, and for your next season, you'll have a modified maximum demand.
Oh, okay. I'll leave it at that. I'm still trying to figure this out, but I appreciate that explanation, because I didn't realize that it would actually drop.
Yes, it can go up or it can drop. It is dependent, again, on your maximum usage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just real quickly, electric adjusts what, quarterly now for demand?
Yes,
And gas adjusts every 6 months for demand?
yes,
Electric is the top 15 minutes of usage in that 3-month period?
you are correct.
And gas is the top, what period?
Yeah, I've got the tariff right here in front of me. Let me just take a look at that.
I'm just wondering, it's got to be maybe a little more than 15 minutes, but probably not a daily rate.
Well, the highest amount of gas used in a single day during the most recent
is a daily
5-month winter period.
Okay.
Yes, November
Okay.
through March. Yep.
Great, thank you. And it adjusts every 6 months, so changing it to every 3 months, I wonder how much of a cost shift that would actually be. You know, we put it in as a study because we don't have all the data. We would need help from you guys and from Eversource to get us the data to see if we can analyze what the impact would be. I know, Representative Lanu and Comptroller Scanlon were pushing that we take it up in legislation right away, but I think we do need more of an analysis about the rate impact,
Yeah.
the shifting.
And I think if you look at our written testimony, we're not opposed to a study. We're not opposed to a study on any of these bills.
Right,
Information is useful, and
Yeah.
we don't mind participating in that. We were just trying to provide a little bit more color around the demand charge and the processes that are used.
great, thank you. I appreciate it. No one else? We're going to move on to Connor Yukadis, followed by Justin Farmer. Connor?
Hey there. I'm assuming you can all hear me. Good evening, Senator Needleman, Representative Steinberg, ranking members, and members of the Energy and Technology Committee. My name is Connor Yukadis. I'm Deputy Director with the Connecticut League of Conservation Voters. And I want to thank you all for your dedication. I know it's certainly been a long day. I'm here to voice support for HB 5036 and HB 5248. Together, these bills provide practical steps to lower our energy costs, improve reliability, and keep Connecticut moving forward to reach our clean energy goals. First off, HB 5036 helps make it easier and faster for homeowners to install rooftop solar. One big barrier folks often face when they're looking to get solar is slow and inconsistent permitting. Different rules in different towns, long review times, and paper-based systems all add time and cost. This bill creates a statewide online permitting platform for small residential systems. For qualifying projects, permits could be reviewed automatically and issued quickly while still meeting the building and safety codes that are super important. Keeps important safeguards in place, but removes unnecessary red tape. Municipalities can use the state system or adopt a comparable one, so local control is respected. This bill, overall, it's going to reduce costs by streamlining and makes going solar more straightforward and accessible for Connecticut families. HB 5248 strengthens our energy efficiency policies and improves long-term grid planning. Creates a backup plan in case the federal Energy Star program is rolled back, so consumers can continue to rely on clear efficiency labels when buying appliances. And it also updates and clarifies Connecticut's authority to improve appliance efficiency standard when they save consumers money, while relying on trusted regional and national certification programs. Energy efficiency, in our view, is still the cheapest and cleanest energy resource we have. We've heard a lot about housing crisis in Connecticut throughout the day, and that is certainly true. But as you all know, we're facing an energy crisis as well. And folks, for me, that is not a homeowner, being able to invest in more energy efficient ways is going to save my electric bills in the long term. Finally, the bill ensures that transmission and infrastructure decisions are based on independent studies and long-term planning, helping us prepare for growing electric demand while avoiding unnecessary cost. In short, these bills lower costs, protect consumers, and modernize Connecticut's energy system in a responsible way. We respectfully urge you to support both of these bills. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Connor. You made some really excellent points. Are there any comments or questions? You catch us at a depleted time of night, but thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Consideration. Next up, Justin Farmer. Is Justin with us?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm online.
Please.
Yes, that's a yes. You can hear me?
You're with us.
Great. Good evening, co-chairs Needleman and Steinberg, ranking members Fazio and Mara, and other distinguished members of the Energy and Technology Committee. I am Justin Farmer. I'm a former councilman in Hamden, and I am talking to you in support of Senate Bill 245 and Bill 5245. I'll start with community choice aggregation first. Back in 2020, while I was on the city council in Hamden, I encouraged my councilors to write a resolution to the governor in support of community choice aggregation because I saw the cost savings in other parts of the country and wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to do that in our community. Since then, I've moved to New Haven, but the fight and urgency for utilities and energy costs have only been strengthened, right? And so I think community choice aggregation just gives the opportunity for community members to have reliable services, right, and have local government control, improve rates, right, better reliability. We've seen our neighboring states pass legislation and have been doing it for quite some time now. New York State since 2016. And so I think it's just time for us to get with the times. I know that in the land of steady habits, we don't like to be first, right? But we would be number 13, right? So I think there's a lot of information out there that we can see. And so I hope that y'all will support 5245. In terms of Senate Bill 245, right? Data centers, we know that they pose a lot of harm in terms of their environmental footprint. And so I think it's important that if the taxpayers' money is going to go into something, that there should be concrete benefits to our community. And right now, data centers, it is not clear that they're a net positive. There are better ways to look about having data centers if that's something that we're interested in doing. The NRDC, the National Resource Defense Council came up with a better plan management data center load growth platform. And so I urge y'all to check that out. And I'm happy to be bold and brief and answer any questions that y'all may have.
Well, thank you, Justin. That was great testimony. We appreciate it. I don't see any questions for you, though. So thank you and have a good rest of your evening.
You as well. Safe travels.
Thanks. Well, next up, we have Mike Trahan. Is Mike with us still?
I am Representative. How you doing?
Yeah, we can see you. You were present and now you're remote. So go ahead.
Good to see you. Members of the committee, Mike Trahan with the Connecticut Solar and Storage Association here to speak about House Bill 5036. I was looking at the list of testimony filed by individuals on this bill and found that I was the only one to file in opposition to the bill, and I just wanted to have a chance to explain myself here. The title of the bill speaks to the idea of streamlining residential permitting. The main focus of the bill, though, is to find a way to do instant permitting of applications, which is great. We promoted instant permitting with the Energy Committee a couple of years ago. We spoke to the deep about it at length a couple of years ago. I think it's terrific that the governor's picked up the ball and run with it on this issue, but instant permitting is just one piece of the pie of a holistic view of looking at how to streamline the permitting process. There's a dozen different ways to streamline permitting in Connecticut. I've listed many of them in some rather extensive comments that I've filed on this bill. I've also listed jurisdictions across the country where these streamlined permitting elements are part of state law. And I would simply ask that when the committee considers moving on this bill, if they do, that they would consider piggybacking these items onto the bill. If you're really serious, and we are serious about it, and it sounds like the governor is too, about streamlining the process, we take a wider look of all the ways that we can do. None of these are unfunded mandates to municipalities, by the way. There are cost savings for everybody involved, the customer, the installer, and the building official. So I would just ask that if you do move on this bill, that you consider other elements to take a wider look at streamlined permitting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. No. Next up is Ian McDonald, followed by Kate McAuliffe. Ian?
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, Senator Needleman, Rep. Steinberg, Senator Fazio, and Rep. Mara, and other distinguished members of this committee. I would first like to register my support for HB 5245, an act concerning municipal aggregation. I welcome members of this committee working with advocates of this bill, along with Councilor Coleman, CCSM, and ratepayer advocates and municipal leaders from state municipal aggregation, find a workable way forward. I think we can do this. I know there's valid concerns here, but I also support the provisions of HB 5036 streamlining solar permitting. While this act is not a silver bullet for reining in solar costs and delays in deployment, it is an important piece of the puzzle. HB 5248, an act concerning energy efficiency and transmission planning, is also worthy of our support. As we look to reduce costs to both renters and ratepayers, it is critical we do our best to avoid unnecessary load growth. Furthermore, I believe the caps referred to by the commissioner earlier today should adequately protect landlords needing to make upgrades. I strongly support Act 245, eliminating tax incentives for data centers due to the likely significant adverse impacts of data centers and AI on ratepayer bills, local health and the environment, and our state's job market. Lastly, regarding SB 243 requiring a study of residential electric bills, while I am generally in favor of maximal transparency, I also think it is important to shed light on all cost drivers to our electric rates. These could include weather-induced rate hikes, asset condition projects, or the return on equity received by the utilities. Lastly, many costs found in the public benefits charge are either investments or recoverable costs, and this needs to be reflected to whatever extent possible in any analysis of that portion of cost. And I'll leave it at that. happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Steve,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative.
Just to clarify, you're suggesting that as we're looking at increasing transparency on the bill, we also break out how much is the utilities return on equity or its profit margin?
Well, I think ratepayers, I know the public benefits charge was kind of became largely the focus there, but I think anything that is driving these costs, I know there's, there's a lot of questioning whether that return on equity is significantly inflated relative to the cost of equity for the utilities. So I think I think it's valid. And I also think, the asset condition projects with transmission could be really jacking up some of the, on the generation portion of the bill. And I think ISO has a lot of this data and some of this breakout already done. So I think the more information we get, I know you might not want that on the front page of the bill, but I think it's the more honesty and transparency we can get across the entire cost structure is advisable.
Thanks. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you, Representative Mara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we don't have who you are representing, but I noticed you said we can support that. So I'm just curious, who's we?
Oh, I'm not representing anybody tonight specifically. I mean, there are groups I'm part of that I'm happy to share with you, but I'm not speaking on behalf of them. So these are my personal opinions. I did serve on the ISO New England, the Consumer Liaison Group Coordinating Committee. So that certainly, for a couple of years, so that certainly influences my perspective, but I no longer serve on that.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Appreciate it. Appreciate
Thanks.
your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Kate McAuliffe, followed by Paul Lamoureux.
Hi, good evening, Chair Needleman, Chair Steinberg, Ranking Member Senator Fazio, Representative Mara, and honorable members of the committee. My name is Kate McAuliffe. I'm a senior policy advocate at Acadia Center, a nonprofit organization that works to advance clean energy solutions throughout the Northeast. Thanks for the opportunity to provide testimony today. Acadia Center is submitting written testimony on a number of bills under consideration. In the interest of time, I will primarily focus on HB 5036, an act streamlining residential solar permitting and energy infrastructure. Acadia Center supports HB 5036 with some recommendations. Amidst the ongoing energy affordability crisis, residential solar is a really powerful tool for households to lower their utility bills and for all ratepayers to benefit from solar's price suppression effects on power prices. However, installation costs put solar panels out of reach for many Connecticut households. Installing solar panels in the US is already more expensive compared to other countries, and Connecticut residents pay more per kilowatt than the national average. While many of the drivers of solar installation costs are outside of Connecticut's control, reducing soft costs will go a long way to making solar more affordable and accessible for Connecticut residents. By some estimates, these soft costs, which can include non-hardware costs such as permitting and customer acquisition, can account for 50 or as much as 78% of total project cost, with permitting alone sometimes rising to 20 to 30% of overall system costs. Streamlining the permitting process with a standardized instantaneous platform as proposed by HB 5036 would reduce municipal staff time and labor spent on permit processing, reduce project delays, and provide a more coherent set of requirements for developers working across jurisdiction. And this could result in lower costs for residents, both solar adopters themselves, and for all ratepayers generally. Automated solar permitting platforms have been on the market for years and are proven to shorten project timelines and reduce project costs. In addition to the time and cost-saving benefits already identified in other testimony, these platforms have also been shown to be as effective, if not more effective, than traditional permitting methods. And in fact, a National Renewable Energy Laboratory study found that certain automated permitting platforms were 29% less likely to fail inspections than traditional projects. So while we support this bill, Acadia Center does have a few recommendations for how streamlining could go even further. The first is to expand instantaneous permitting to include other equipment associated with residential solar. We've heard others in their testimony recommend the expansion to include energy storage systems. I'd also like to highlight that New Jersey passed a similar law back in December that automated permitting for solar panels as well as storage, as has been recommended, electric panel upgrades, and other associated measures, since the panels themselves are really just one piece of the puzzle. The second recommendation is to support municipal use of remote inspections, and as I'm out of time, the third would be to streamline interconnection requirements. So thanks again for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Kate. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you for your patience. I think Francis testified earlier. Francis Pickering, yeah, he did. Not yet. I'm doing Paul Lamoureux and then Tom Swan after Paul. Paul, are you out there? Paul Lamoureux, Trinity Solar. Going once, going twice. Done. Tom Swan, followed by Jeffrey Gross.
Good evening, Senator Needleman, Representative Steinberg. Thank you for your perseverance and for putting forward a series of these bills today. My name's Tom Swan. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Citizen Action Group. And on behalf of our 1,000 of member families, I want to comment on a number of the bills today. We strongly support SB 243, an act requiring the study of the design of the residential electric consumer bills. It is clear that the shift to include all of the charges is one systems benefit charge was a mistake. It resulted in some dishonest people scapegoating low income and clean energy programs for the high rates in Connecticut. It should be noted that these same people have been silent on Eversource's parent corporation's $1.69 billion profit in 2025, and have proposed locking in Connecticut ratepayers to increase costs for decades to build new pipelines that we do not need. Also, we strongly support SB 245, an act eliminating certain tax incentives for data centers. We strongly support the elimination and urge the legislature to also adopt further conditions for any future centers. We could look at the Oregon Power Act as an example of that. Many states are rethinking their tax incentives, according to an article in Stateline just today, and recognizing that proponents have overpromised benefits and understated cost. Recognizing this, in my written testimony, I go through some of the different types of consumer and environmental protections we'd like. For the sake of time, I won't do that much. We support House Bill 5245, an act concerning municipal electric aggregation, but we'd like to associate ourselves with the Consumer Council's statements about the need to really think through some of the consumer protections and to learn from places like Massachusetts and how to do it, that it doesn't hurt low-income people and people on fixed incomes. We support House Bill 5248. We believe that energy efficiency is a cornerstone to lowering rates and meeting our clean energy goals, and therefore strongly support sections 1 to 4. And finally, we support House Bill 5036, an act streamlining residential permitting and energy infrastructure. We applaud the governor for proposing these small steps. We would encourage you to look at some of the additional streamlining that have been mentioned by earlier speakers, and also to his encouragement in the adoption of clean energy. Thank you very much. It may be the first time I beat the clock.
That was excellent, Tom. It's almost like you rehearsed it.
I had a little time, but I didn't.
I appreciate your patience tonight. Representative Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for your testimony. I want to go back to your very first statement, and I'm a little confused as to what the public benefits charge being broken out of the bill has to do with Eversource's profits.
Well, I would argue everything has to do with Eversource's profits. They continue through their various corporate entities and business practices in other states, make an obscene lot of money. They spend an obscene amount of money on lobbyists. They spend an obscene amount of money on litigation, challenging people here within the state of Connecticut just to harass and intimidate. That the fact that they were having that fight, and if we broke out the system's benefit charges, your earlier statements about where proponents said that 70% of system's benefit charge was the Millstone bill, we said 70% was the increase in the system's benefit charge that happened last year. It wasn't the clean energy programs that have been stable. It wasn't the energy efficiency. It wasn't the energy assistance. In addition, last year, the utilities were able to recover the cost of non-payment and the moratorium the state put on that during the time of COVID, when it would have been wrong to take it. Instead, a number of legislators used it as an excuse to go after energy assistance and clean energy programs in a way that we hadn't seen previously in Connecticut. And it was a very dishonest attack on these programs. And we're going to call that out. So I thank you for asking that question, because I wanted to figure out a way to try to address what your earlier statement, which while had some truth in terms of numbers, what it didn't have was the proper context. And I think that I wanted to be able to offer it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I was wondering who started that 70%.
It was about the increase. It wasn't about the overall.
The increase of the increase. Yes, I get that.
No, it was the increase of the benefits
The
charge.
percentage difference on the increase, I think, is what it came down to. However, when you say truth in numbers, I think that's very important. And I don't think anything is misleading when you look at the numbers and you actually break them down factually. When you throw a number out like 70% and you see that that number has been changed and has been used wrongly, I think that's where you have some accountability that you need to maybe own.
Honestly, the only person I've heard use it wrongly is you.
No further questions. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry that I missed that. Do we have anybody else? No. Okay. Thank you, Tom. I think no one else has any questions. Jeff Gross, followed by Justin Kearney.
Hello, this is Jeff Gross from Deep River. I'm here right now, and I thank the committee and the members for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm speaking on my own behalf. I support SB 245, the tax elimination, tax rebate incentive elimination. Modern AI data centers are really sterile, no-touch environments. They provide few employment opportunities, except for some, security staff and temporary construction workers, and they have a heavy environmental footprint. The real work is done wherever in the world the programmers are, and all the configuration is done via software nowadays. So there's really not much benefit to an AI data center. I think let's have them be built where the people are willing to have them be built. And I also want to discuss briefly one more time 5036. It builds on the excellent premise that complex technical products, such as solar installations, be validated and generated, in fact, by a configuration tool. This has been done for decades for complex industrial equipment. And I do appreciate previous testimony that affirms these apps really do work and have been adopted by Connecticut towns. So in my mind, the value of such a configurator is not the time savings, it's the assurance that the equipment that's ordered and installed is actually correctly configured and compliant with code. So 3 quick suggestions. The race language seems to intentionally remove all agency and flexibility from the current local authority having jurisdiction, the AHJ, typically the town building inspector or department. I don't think that's right. I think there should be some oversight at the town level after the configuration's been submitted. The towns do like to think about things like aesthetics, battery safety, and sometimes battery safety really needs to be evaluated in situ as you look at the structure where the battery is going to be residing. So that's a fairly simple change, I think. I also think the timelines are much too long. July 2028 for completion of the state version, that's 2 years. And any IT project that takes 2 years is too expensive. It's out of date before it's written. And there are just better, more agile ways to take care of it, like the fact that the Solar App Plus is being demoed tomorrow for town people who can make use of it immediately. And finally, just a comment on the structure of the bill itself seems to be very specific about the workflow, and I don't think that statutes should have that level of specificity. That would be better done in a regulation, which could be revisited more easily. And I do think an annual review would be totally appropriate for this kind of a project. So thank you very much. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody have any questions? Thank you for your patience tonight. Justin Kearney, followed by Andy Bauer.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairs Needleman and Steinberg, for having me in the Energy and Technology Committee. My name is Justin Kearney, Managing Director of Titan Energy, a licensed energy aggregator in the state of Connecticut. And I am here in support of HB 5245, an act concerning municipal aggregation programs. In early 2023, Connecticut electric customers experienced some of the highest standard offer supply rates in state history, over 24 cents per kilowatt hour. During that same period, certain residential customers designated as hardship customers were barred from enrolling with competitive third-party electricity suppliers, even when those suppliers were offering rates substantially lower than the utility standard service. The policy was originally intended as a consumer protection mechanism under oversight from PURA. However, in practice, this had an unintended consequence. It removed the ability of financially vulnerable customers to access lower priced supply during a time of extraordinary rate pressure. In a market designed to provide choice and competition, the very customers who are most sensitive to price were denied the opportunity to pursue savings. The key takeaway from that episode is simple, that optionality matters. Municipal aggregation expands upon that optionality in a structured, transparent, and consumer protective way. HB 5245 would give municipalities the ability to competitively procure electricity supply on behalf of their residents and small businesses while preserving full customer choice through an opt-out structure. No town is required to participate, no customer is forced to remain enrolled, as you all know. Importantly, aggregation also reduces reliance on fragmented door-to-door sales or telemarketing practices and replaces it with a public, accountable procurement process. With experienced energy advisors vetting pricing, contract terms and conditions, and supplier creditworthiness, municipalities can secure transparent and risk-managed agreements that protect ratepayers. The opt-out structure is essential. It preserves full customer choice while ensuring thorough enough participation to produce meaningful buying power. Opt-in programs consistently fail to generate scale. Opt-out programs, by contrast, deliver leverage and lower overhead, and any customer can leave at any time and return to standard service or choose another supplier. As I understand, there have been some concerns about the opt-out structure. I would like to note that Connecticut ratepayers are already subject to an opt-out system. I know this was mentioned already. under utility standard service. If a customer does nothing, they are automatically placed on standard service and subject to the utility's procurement decisions, including when and how power is purchased without any direct input. HB 5245 does not intend to eradicate this option, but merely add another meaningful, publicly vetted option to the table. And additionally, I did want to point out that mandating that hardship customers or residential customers generally receive electric rates below standard service in every rate period may create some unintended consequences as well, given that customers who would benefit the most from long-term rate stability would potentially be barred from participating in the types of programs and products that we're discussing here today. I have more, but I know everyone's trying to get out of here, and I appreciate all of your time today, and I urge for your support, and thank you. If you have any questions, I will be here.
Thank you. Just one point of clarification. The standard service rate is sort of overseen by PURA, which is an arm of the public, and they attempt to develop a risk-off strategy in the procurement methodology. I haven't seen enough data to show me that aggregators actually would provide over a 10-year period a better rate. I just haven't seen the data. I'm not sure it exists, but I would think, you know, the standard nature of the purchasing done, which we've looked at, you know, 17 ways from Sunday, provides sort of a reasonable balance and is as much of a risk-off strategy as you can get, short of buying power over a longer period of time, like Vermont does. They may buy it over 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I think some of the municipals do that. Generally, for the longer you fix an asset, the higher the interest, the higher the premium. So I'm not sure I've seen any hard evidence that would let me think that aggregation will actually save anybody money over the long haul. And you've heard my testimony or my comments 100 times about I have enough aggravation as a first selectman. I don't want any more. I don't want people complaining to me that we bought power at a bad price. I'd rather have them complain to me as a legislator about that.
I understand that part. There is data to support that the municipal aggregations have outperformed utility standard offers in similar states.
I haven't seen the data. If there is, I'd be interested in seeing it. And I would assume at that point, if there's variability in the purchasing strategy by those companies that do the aggregation, that that it would vary even within who you pick as an aggregator. Right? Not everybody's going to buy power the same way. Every company is going to hedge it differently to try to get stability.
Correct.
You know, I would imagine municipalities could decide to reset rates every 6 months as opposed to once a year, or buy it for a longer period of time. And that would just lead to more people opting in and opting out constantly, in my opinion. So,
well, I think the point that I would make is again, just to bring it back to optionality. It's not to necessarily say that the 6-month period is right or wrong. It's to provide additional options to municipalities, to provide an opt-out plan that might be a 3-year contract. That if it's, you know, purchased at an opportune time in the market, which is what companies like ourselves do and other companies like us, that those contracts tend to outperform utility standard offers. And, you know, the point I made earlier just about how, you know, this sort of 6-month view about if the utility standard offer is, I think you mentioned this earlier, Senator, regarding your business, that sometimes your business rate might be a little bit above the standard offer rate, and that in the long run, the idea is for you to outperform those utility rates. And
no, it's not. I just want you to know that. I said that also. It's not for that reason. I'm a large consumer of power, and all I want is stability. I want certainty and stability. So I don't think I've outperformed the market, but I want to know that my rate's going to be my rate, because when I price the products I manufacture, I don't have the ability to adjust the price that I sell to Walmart every 6 months, right? And that's, you know, so
and rate stability is an important part of the equation as well. But I would say that, you know, for in our experiences working with large customers and small customers, that smaller customers, residential customers, tend to be more sensitive to the performance of the contracts, and we've, contracts that we've managed have outperformed utility standard offers by buying at the right time, layering in, longer term agreements. And again, these are options. The utility is hamstrung in the way that they buy power. That has to be 6-month tranches. I mean, I know they're debating changing when that might happen to move it to different times a year. Regardless of where they do it, I mean, ultimately it's still going to be a limited option. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the offering of another option in this case would be, I think the beneficial.
I get it, but
yeah.
I'm not convinced that municipalities are any more or less gullible than people, to be quite honest, because they're always going to chase whatever they chase. That said, show me the data, and I'm interested to see how this particular winter, with the volatility in this winter, played into that data. So, anyway,
appreciate it.
Have anything else? Thank you for your patience. You got the extra minute because you stayed around all day, and you kept Donna here. That's right. Andy Bauer, followed by Jamie Mowat Young. Andy?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Senator Needleman, Representative Steinberg, ranking members Mara and Fazio, and everybody on ENT. My compliments, you're still standing. Thank you for the opportunity to offer testimony on SB 243. I'm not sure whether I approve or disapprove of this bill, but I do know it's something that we got to get right. As chair of the Portland Clean Energy Task Force, I have literally spent thousands of hours tabling, talking to people about programs that are funded through the combined public benefits portion of the public benefits charge, and how they might help them. I've heard from neighbors.
Ask a question just to be wisecracks.
Hello, it's Representative Winter. So I've heard from neighbors about about how they've been helped by Home Energy Solutions, how they've been helped by Smarty Loans. There's one senior who's a veteran, and he was saying he didn't know what he would do without the low income discount rate. For all the comments that I've heard disparaging the public benefits, I'm not this hearing, I want to make that clear, but mostly on social media, I can only say that they don't match the over 2 decades of happy stories I've heard about people from public benefit funded programs. And they aren't nameless ratepayers to me, they're my neighbors. I want to shout out to Representative Buckby, I hope he's still there, who summed up the goal of any electric bill redesign when he said, I believe he was talking with Commissioner Dykes, how does a ratepayer know that these things are helping? And that's what we got to do. So here are some suggestions. We need to showcase how many homes we helped have AC stay on during the brutally hot summer months. This January to February, when we had almost 10 days of minus below freezing, how many did we keep warm and safe during that stretch? Maybe we could put right on the bill an icon, I don't know, a gold star for energy efficient. Like if you had energy efficiency, or if you put on rooftop solar, if you participate in EV managed charging programs, which lowers the costs across New England, those things would all be good. There'd be some type of expression for how these things help not just the people who do them, but for all ratepayers. Last, I would ask there be a public input into any redesign proceeding. Thank you. I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you, Andy. You can be assured that if we are talking about changing the bill, there will be an opportunity for public input. It'll likely go through PURA as the last bill change went through. And I appreciate your comments about we haven't done a very good job of explaining what public benefits are for, and that's still something we can do. Any comments or questions? If not, thank you, Andy, for hanging in all this time. We appreciate
Thank you.
We've got Jamie Mowat Young. Is Jamie with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can, and congratulations.
So I get an extra half an hour, right, for sticking it out? And it's not 2 a.m. So
I'm here all night for you. Go ahead.
thank you. Good evening, Chairs Needleman and Steinberg, Vice Chairs, Ranking Members, and members of the Energy and Technology Committee, which I think forevermore should be called the Endurance committee. My name is Jamie Mowat Young. I serve as as an officer on the Representative Policy Board for the South Central Connecticut Regional Water District, and I represent the town of Killingworth, where I've also served as an elected selectman. And I've worked in various capacities for the state of Connecticut, including as a attorney to the governor and at DEEP during the creation of PURA. So I have a good familiarity with them. The Representative Policy Board is the public, community-based oversight body that serves as the economic regulator for the RWA. Our members are appointed by the municipalities we serve, and together we are accountable to each community within RWA's service area. Our responsibility is significant. Major decisions do not move forward without public review and approval by locally appointed representatives. When RWA management proposes a major capital project, a rate application, a significant financial action, or land transaction, they must submit a formal application to us. That application is reviewed by the authority board and then referred to the RPB for consideration. Just like PURA and OCC, the RPB and OCA, who you had the opportunity to listen to today with Attorney D'Onofrio, have a wide spectrum of expertise, but also have the option to hire technical experts when they deem it advisable for any reason. One of our committees will then take these applications, review it for the submission for completeness, and schedules a publicly noticed hearing. At those hearings, management presents the proposal, RPB members ask questions, the Office of Consumer Affairs participates, as he eloquently shared earlier, and members of the public are invited to testify. Only after that public process does the full RPB vote in an open meeting. The final decision is published, and there is a formal appeal period for major capital projects, rate cases, commercial transactions, and land dispositions. RPB approval is required before any action can proceed. Beyond those individual approvals, the RPB also maintains visibility into the financial and operational aspects of RWA. Major projects are included in multi-year capital plans. Spending and projections are reviewed quarterly by both the Authority Board and the RPB's Finance Committee, and larger projects are reflected in long-range financial planning. This structure provides continuous transparency and ensures that significant actions cannot advance without public visibility. This collaboration I'm going to add right now is one of the reasons why the applications aren't rejected on a regular basis, because we're collaborative up front. We express our concerns and they're addressed early in the planning process before the applications are even drafted and presented to us for consideration. The legislature established the AWA using the same public authority governance model, including an independent representative policy board that will serve as the economic regulator. In practical terms, that means that Aquarian customers for the first time have the same municipal representation, the same public hearings, the same binding approvals, and the same transparency that have governed RWA for 50 years. From my experience serving on the RPB, this model works. It balances professional utility management with strong public accountability. It gives communities a real voice, and it protects long-term customer interests. To me, this model is the gold standard. It works. The RPB and the OCA have proven the capacity. They have the capacity and expertise that was questioned earlier. The RPB hasn't really had a voice in this process. We have that expertise, and when we don't have it, we can we have the authority to go and acquire technical experts. Because the legislature has already established a public authority governance structure for the Aquarian Water Authority that includes this
Jamie,
municipal.
Jamie,
I have one sentence left.
Okay, yeah, we'll give you 30 seconds more.
Okay.
Thank you.
That includes municipal representation, binding approvals, public hearings, and ongoing financial oversight. There is no gap in accountability that needs to be corrected. It is a structure that provides real oversight and meaningful community input, and for that reason, I respectfully urge the committee not to alter the existing governance framework and to oppose House Bill 5249. Thank you for your time and consideration and the opportunity to share my perspective. I'm happy to answer questions.
I appreciate your passion on the issue. We're all here. We want to get out, but I do have one or two questions. This oversight authority, is it binding or is it advisory?
I'm sorry, in what capacity? It's binding. When we make a decision, it's,
No, no, no. I mean, the consumer council part of the equation. You know, we're trying to replicate the role of both consumer council and a regulator in a
Right.
75 town quasi-public. Is anything that anybody says outside of the board binding?
outside
Assuming
of,
the board makes the decision in this case.
right. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the decision is about. But in this case, and I want to just say that earlier, the COGS were represented and a senator was speaking and had represented 24 of the communities covered by Aquarian. There are 59 municipalities. So the majority of municipalities didn't even join in their consideration. I think they know that they will have a voice. Many of the representatives from all these towns have suggested that, you know, they want their towns heard, and that's exactly what the RPB does. I know in my instance, I interact. Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate that. Don't want to belabor it. We've sort of beaten this horse pretty well dead
Okay.
at this point. I'm not sure that anything we do in this committee at this point is going to affect the decision at PURA that's due in 2 weeks. I don't think we're going to get a bill out there quickly enough. And I think I only heard one legislator in person sort of advocating for the work that RWA does. And I heard a lot more discussion about concerns, including, I'm sure you were listening to the fellow who ran Aquarion.
Right, Mr. Prisha.
Did not think this was a good deal. I mean, he was unequivocal about it being not a good deal. So
I think he based it on assumptions. He's not involved in the deal, obviously, and he's coming from a for-profit environment as opposed to a quasi-state environment.
no, I agree. I understand. And I think that we made the decision to create the largest quasi-public entity in the state, to cover the largest number of towns in the state. The only comparable entity was Mira. And I do think that what works for 15 towns may work very well for 15 towns, but I'm not sure that it works for 60 or 75 towns. That would be my only comment to you. But I do appreciate the fact that you guys try to do a good job. You're very collaborative. Coming out of municipal government, you know I'm the first selectman of Essex. We, as a COG, struggle with finding common ground on a host of issues that we would like to, things we would like to accomplish, and trying to figure out what else COGs can do. Here, you know, our COG is 17 towns. The two COGs that were represented were a total of 24 towns. There are certainly other towns to be heard from, and there was not as much input as I thought there might be, but there was still plenty of input. So with that, it's 9:18. That we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us here. We're fading fast. So, and I appreciate your patience today. So if there are no other questions, last but not least is Tim Smith.
Our new Mr. Irrelevant.
Sorry. Wow.
IQ silver figure that one.
Oh, okay. That's harsh.
We made it. Good evening, Senator Needleman, Representative Steinberg, Senator Fazio, Representative Mara, and members of the Energy and Technology Committee. I'm Timothy Smith. I happen to be at this time, Senior Energy Efficiency Consultant for a Connecticut-based ESCO, Earth Core Energy Services. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 5247. My testimony's already on file, but I've spent over next to 30 years in the energy efficiency world, working with both state and municipal governments, some federal sites, as well as the commercial industrial, both on a large scale and small mom and pop businesses. I've seen the impact that cost-reductive emerging technologies have played in lowering bottom line expenditures and the carbon footprints of our end users. In 2021, as you know, we enacted Public Act 2176 through this body. Now, Section 14 of that bill created the Connecticut Innovations Program. That's a proprietary cost-reductive emerging technologies program to perform a demonstrative pilot and potentially have that technology procured by the state agency through the DAS. Now, that program has been very successful. The main reason is the structure of the program. I can't say that for all programs, however, this one does work. When reading the language of the Innovations Bill, it's easy to deduce that this program was modeled after the previous 2009 test bed legislation. 80% of that language for the Connecticut Innovations Program is the same as a test bed. However, as we know, the Connecticut Innovations Program is only for Connecticut companies. In my 28 years in the industry, part of my job is to find the next solution for my customers. That doesn't always reside within Connecticut. We need to look at the remaining 49 states that can't participate in the Connecticut Innovation Program. Yet they too would like to be able to pilot their technologies for the state. An example, I'm currently working with a company currently located in California that has an energy storage product that's been in service with the military for the last 7 years and is now emerging onto the commercial market. It's unknown in the state of Connecticut. However, they certainly can have a solution here for our municipalities. I've been approached by multiple municipalities that are troubled with solar farms coming into their community, and this is a safe, environmental, no fire possibility solution for them. One message I'd like to convey to the legislative and executive branch: it is good to create some of these programs. I've spent most of my career in the conservation load management programs. Not every program is a good fit for every industry. Some programs are better aligned to fit certain company models or business structures. The more programs that are put out there, the more opportunities the state and its municipalities will have to be exposed to cost-reductive emerging technologies. Again, it's not that one program is better than the other, it's that different programs are better fits for different types. As it pertains to the test bed legislation, this is a program with a proven track record, and most importantly, no fiscal note. The way the program is structured, it costs the state nothing to find out how much money could potentially be saved. I thank everybody for their patience today and allowing me this time and the opportunity to testify here today. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take some.
Well, thank you, Tim. We thank you for your patience. I mean, you must really believe in this bill if you hung out all this time to talk to us about it.
The last time I was in this building, sir, I was fighting for the survival of the Energy Conservation Fund. That's how long ago it goes back. So hopefully this turns out better than that last visit.
You know, we've heard some of the same points brought before. I think you presented it very cogently. You know, part of me wants to say that I wish that we could be assured that the governor and the commissioner of DECD and you know, DAS were available to hear exactly the testimony that we've heard today, because it might change a few minds. Maybe it's even worth your while to pen a note and send it directly to the governor's office, because that's kind of where we've kind of butted up against in recent years. But really do appreciate your taking the time to come out and talk to us, because the argument is as strong as it was before.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. As I said, in all my years of doing this, it's my job to find the next solution, and they're not always here in Connecticut. So being able to modify or change this program to allow outside companies, I think is in everyone's best interest.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
You get to go first next time.
Safe home, everyone. Thank you.
With that, we will bring this public hearing to its conclusion. We are adjourned.